Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in. This is the Breaking Chains Project. We're coming to you live. We're going to be talking today about how to be free from dysfunctional relationships. Okay, we're going to be talking today about how to be free from dysfunctional relationships. This is kind of a part two from what we talked about earlier this week. We talked about attachment style, and so today we're going to be talking about how to be free from those more harmful dysfunctional attachments. Okay, so we're going to give folks some time. We usually get on really early. We're going to get folks some time just to get on board, say hello, let me know you're there. We're going to talk about how to be free from dysfunctional relationships. How do you even know that you're in a dysfunctional relationship? It's so very important. How you doing, Tasha? It's so important that we acknowledge that sometimes we are in dysfunctional relationships, and that's the first step. Hey, Nikki, I'm glad to see you're on. Hope all is well with you. But tonight we're going to be talking about how to be free from dysfunctional relationships. Hey, Teresina, hope all is well with you. Tonight we're talking about how to be free from dysfunctional relationships. So we're going to give folks some time. Let me check my time. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. Wow. I'll give about one more minute. Then we're going to go ahead and get started. Why? Because we want to go ahead and get it going. So when folks start joining, we're going to get moving, and we're going to hope that folks share, like and share the video. If you're a part of a group that you feel may need to hear this on tonight, it's so important that you share this with that group. Okay. So we're going to be talking tonight on how to be free from dysfunctional relationships. If you're out there, share this video today. Okay. Nikki, all right. Take care of yourself. Thank you for stopping by and saying hello. All right, folks, we're going to be talking tonight about how to be free from dysfunctional relationships. The other day, I posted a status on the Robin Beck page, and the status was basically saying, Tasha, if you could share this video, even to my page, if you are able to, I thank you so very much. Tonight, the other day, I posted a status that said, be free from dysfunctional relationships. Be free for what your mom or dad did to you. Be free from those things. And it came from a song. And someone asked the question. They said, how can you be free? Thank you so much, Tasha. How can you be free from dysfunctional relationships? And I thought that was a great question that we could talk about on tonight. So tonight we're going to talk about how to be free from dysfunctional relationships. Okay. So how do you even know that you're in a dysfunctional relationship? We're going to talk about that. We're going to define what a dysfunctional relationship is, and we're going to kind of move forward in that capacity. We want you to share your experience. If you're able to comment, please feel free to comment. We would definitely hear you and talk to you about it. If you may be going through something right now, you don't know if you're in a dysfunctional relationship, talk to us. We're going to be here to support you and encourage you. This is a safe space. So I want to just go ahead and make that a disclaimer for folks who may be joining and may not feel safe enough to say what they may feel. You're more than welcome to inbox, but we try to produce a safe space for you all to be able to talk and be able to say what it is that you want to say, so that we're able to navigate and support you with whatever it is that you may be going through. Okay, so welcome everyone who are just joining. We're going to be talking, and please share. Yes, absolutely. All 5 of you all share this video. If you're a part of a group, if you're a part of a community, a private setting, share this video if you think that people need to hear the word on tonight. There's so many people in dysfunctional relationships and don't even know it. So I definitely want you all to be engaged, and let's talk about it. Okay. All right. So what is a dysfunctional relationship? Okay. Now I got these definitions from multiple sources, so it may be a mixture of things, but I just want you all to know that in the midst of getting the ideas from multiple sources, I did create an avenue to just kind of bring it all together under one definition. Okay. So what is a dysfunctional relationship? A dysfunctional relationship is one that does not perform at the appropriate function. It lacks emotional support. It lacks healthy communication, and it lacks healthy challenges and growth. And when we think about the word challenge, sometimes we think that challenges have to be bad, but sometimes challenges produce growth. And when challenges are producing growth, that is the sign of a healthy relationship. Understand that just because you're in a relationship and it's good and y'all googly eyes and loving on y'all and doing all those great things, which is lovely, there may be challenges, and it's how you deal with those challenges that determine whether your relationship is healthy or whether it is dysfunctional. Okay, we're going to get deeper into that a little bit, but want to just read that definition again for somebody who may have missed it. A dysfunctional relationship is one that does not perform at the appropriate function. It lacks emotional support. It lacks healthy communication, and it also lacks healthy challenges and growth. Okay, so definitely want to put that out there, because in order for us to be free from dysfunctional relationships, we have to know what it is. Now, that was the term for or the definition for that term, but now we're going to move into how does unhealthy or dysfunctional relationships show up in our lives. And we're going to list a host of characteristics, and we're going to talk about that, because some of this is going to hit home. Some of you are going to be like, oh my God, I never even thought about that being a part of a dysfunctional relationship. We're going to talk about how some dysfunctional relationships look. Okay, you ready? Let's go. All right, so the first part, or the first way a relationship can be dysfunctional, is the blame game. There's always one person in the relationship placing blame on another. So there's one always pointing the finger, and there's another who's always taking responsibility. So that person who's always having the finger pointed at feels like it's a blame game, and they feel defenseless in the relationship. That can be a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. There should be a healthy communication. We talked about a dysfunctional relationship lacking communication, but in a functional relationship, in a healthy relationship, you have healthy communication. Even when you disagree, you are agreeing to disagree. Okay, so recognizing that dysfunctional relationships, there's always a blame game, or there seems to be a trend of a blame game that consistently happens. So there's someone always, or someone oftentimes placing the blame on someone else. So there's someone feeling like they're the problem, and the other person is feeling more powerful. Okay, so that's one sign. Another sign of a dysfunctional relationship is the threats that I'm leaving you. Have you ever been in a relationship and somebody's like, that's all right, you ain't got to do what I said, I'll just go, I'll go. And it makes you feel inferior. It makes you feel like, oh no, I have to beg this person now to stay. That could be a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. You may be in a relationship with a partner is consistently threatening to leave. I'm going to leave you. I am not going to be here. I'm not going to deal with you on all of these things. And it's done with a negative intent. And it causes the person who is being told that their partner is going to leave, it causes them to feel like they have to succumb under what the person is asking them to do in order for that person to stay. That is a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. We want to bring that to light, because there's so many people out there who go through this on a regular basis and don't realize that this is an unhealthy dynamic. This can be something that can shift into a positive, but you have to acknowledge the fact that it's a problem with what is going on. No one in a relationship should be threatening to leave unless it's something where there's abuse, or there's a tactic that will cause them to not feel safe to stay. So recognizing that if someone just simply says, I'm just going to leave you, that's fine. You don't have to listen to what I say. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to call me. That's okay. You don't have to text me when I text you back. I'll just go. That is a sign that this person is now using the threat to leave as a manipulation tactic to keep you there, or to keep you begging them to stay. That is unhealthy and is dysfunctional. Okay? All right, so we're going to move on. Other ways that a dysfunctional relationship can show up. Here it is. One person has more control. Hey, Eve. One person has more control or dominance over another. Okay, so let's say that again. One person has more control or dominance over another. So in a healthy relationship, power should be distributed evenly. And that doesn't mean that every time that everything's going to be smooth as pie. But there's a compromise. There's a level of compromise. There's a level of equality in the relationship where both parties feel like they are loved. Both parties feel like they are accepted. Both parties feel like they are heard. Both parties feel like they are secure. But oftentimes in a dysfunctional relationship, one person will have more control, and they will begin to have that control in the relationship, so that the other person becomes powerless, and they feel like they don't have any way to match their other partner in relationship. So recognizing that in a dysfunctional relationship, someone always has more power, and recognizing that power and control dynamic. Okay. All right. So that was the third way. Another way that a dysfunctional relationship can show up in our lives, and another way where we can notice whether or not we're in a dysfunctional relationship, can be through grudges. Do you have a partner that always holds a grudge? Oh, I'm just still mad about this, and they won't let the past go. It seems like they are bitter and angry about whatever has happened in the relationship. And so when you do something well, they constantly remind you of what you do wrong. That can be a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. You feel like no matter what you do, that person consistently draws up what was wrong in the past, and they hold a grudge against you. Even when you apologize, even when you say, I'm sorry, even when you say, you know what, I was wrong, that person consistently, yeah, you was wrong. And they will continue to beat you down and make you feel less than because of whatever may have happened. That is is a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. And that is a sign that you need to make some decisions on whether you're going to stay, because that becomes a pattern. And when it becomes a pattern, it can easily lead to abusive behavior. Okay. All right. So another way that a dysfunctional relationship can show up in our lives is a sense of ownership. There is a sense of emotional ownership. So in other words, one person's needs override the other. Well, I know that you need that, but right now I need you to talk to me. I know that you're tired, but right now I need you to be intimate with me. I know that all of these things are going on, but right now this is what I need. One person's needs override another. And so the person who has to continuously meet the other party's needs, they become depleted. And the person who is constantly demanding their needs be met become more powerful in the relationship. That is a sign of a dysfunction. We want to bring that out there. Okay. So in a healthy relationship, both parties equally have their needs met at various ways, right? We talk about the 5 love language. We talk about different ways that our needs can be met in a healthy relationship. Both parties, and y'all folks who are watching and you want to share this, please share this video. We want to get this out there because there's so many people in dysfunctional relationships that have no clue that they're in dysfunctional relationships, because we have made so many things a cultural norm. We feel like when our partners do certain things that we're talking about tonight that is normal. And we want to talk about that. Why? Because it could be a sign of a dysfunctional relationship, and it could turn easily into an abusive relationship if you're not careful. Okay. Teresina says, I'm guilty of doing that. I kept beating my ex down for cheating, which didn't help. It only made it worse. So there was a sign, and that could be a sign of brokenness as well, meaning the person who cheated on you, they lost your trust. And so in other words, it was hard to let that thing go because you no longer trusted them. And so I hear you when you say that you were unable to let it go, and that can easily turn into something dysfunctional because you have a choice. And I know that they had a choice to cheat, and that hurt you and that made you feel very low. But now you have a choice. When they either bring it up or you find out about it and they talk to you about it, you have a choice as to whether you're going to forgive them and move on, or if you're going to hold on to it and need to take a break. And it's okay sometimes. Oh, I do got my seatbelt on. I'm sorry. See, I drive safe, y'all. I had to move the car. Thank you. But it's so important that you recognize that it can easily turn into dysfunction. And this is why, Teresina, it's so important that we talk about this, because we don't realize that sometimes we can be dysfunctional in the relationship, and we can push our partners away because of things that we do. And it's an awareness that needs to happen in order for us to continue to grow and be healed and be happy in relationships. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. So we talked about a sense of ownership. One person's needs have to be met over another. That is a form of a dysfunctional relationship. We're going to move on. There is disloyalty. What is disloyalty? Matters of the relationship, and this is a big one, y'all. Matters of the relationship are taken out of the relationship. In other words, one party goes and talks to someone else outside of the relationship, looking for a shoulder to cry on, and don't even talk to their partner. There's a disloyalty there. And that often happens. We have our best friends, we have our family members, and some of us are interested in new partners, and we start talking to other people about our relationship, and we're not even dealing with the relationship at home. That is a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. Bringing someone else into your problems for whatever needs that you have that want to be met, it can be dysfunctional when you're not allowing yourself to bring your problems to your partner. And so there are many people who do that and feel like it's okay to go to an outlet, but sometimes it's not okay when your partner is unaware of what's going on. So you're violating a level of trust and a loyalty to your partner by going out and talking about something. Now, it's one thing when you've already talked to your partner and you feel like they haven't changed. But when you go to someone else and you haven't even talked to your partner, that could be grounds for drama to start. That could be grounds for so much seeds of discord. That can be grounds for so many things to grow from you stepping out of the relationship, emotionally stepping out of the relationship. And some of us don't even realize that that's where cheating starts. When we step out of the relationship to emotionally rely on someone else to take care of us and to talk to someone else about our relationship, we don't even realize sometimes that that is the reason why the cheating trend actually starts. That is a sign of emotional cheating. And oftentimes the partner who doesn't even know what's going on, feels like everything is okay, and all of a sudden the partner who's stepping out of the relationship to talk to someone and emotionally cheat, they find themselves in a place where now they don't know what to do because they've caught feelings or may have fell for someone else outside of the relationship when they hadn't even dealt with the relationship at home. And that could be a sign of dysfunction. Eve says, people often make the mistake of trying to solve what's going on in the relationship by going outside the relationship. Absolutely. And I hear what you're saying. It's excluding therapy, but talking about, yes, we have conversations. If you're having conversations about your partner and you're not talking to your partner, that is grounds for cheating to begin. That is breeding ground for cheating, especially if you're talking to someone that you have the potential to be attracted to. That leads to things getting crossed so quickly. And oftentimes when it crosses, it's too late to try to fix it, because now you've caught feelings for someone and you ain't even fixed your problem at home. That is a sign of dysfunctional relationships. Okay? I hope that makes sense to everybody. So we talked about disloyalty. Talking to another that's outside of the partner. We do it all the time. And some of us don't do it with people that we have the potential to cheat with. We do it with our families. We bring people in. And so the reason why we consider this disloyalty is because now when you're talking to someone else about your relationship problems and you're not talking to your partner about it, and we're talking about this is an unhealthy relationship and not abusive, okay? There's a difference. When you're going out and stepping out and talking to your family or whoever about the problems, now their perception of your partner has shifted. So now there's pressure on you to leave. Have you ever talked to someone about your partner and they're like, you need to just leave them? Why you don't just go? You know, they be saying all that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, maybe I should. And now there's pressure on you to make a decision about something that you haven't even talked to your partner about. It can easily get messed up. And it's very unfair, Eve, to your partner. It's very unfair. We're talking again about dysfunctional and unhealthy relationships, not abusive. Now, if you're in an abusive relationship and you decide to step out and talk to someone, you need to talk to someone. And it's important that you talk to someone who is healthy and that can help you. Okay? So we want to separate the two, because oftentimes people can be in abusive relationships and hear this message and say, no, I don't have to talk to nobody. Yes, if you're in an abusive relationship, and we'll have more segments on that so we can definitely clear it up. But when you're in an abusive relationship, meaning there is unsafe measures happening in your relationship, then you do need to talk to someone, okay? We're talking more on the context of you are stepping out to emotionally cheat or to emotionally step out of the relationship when the problem is with your partner and your partner is wanting to hear what your problem is and you're too afraid to talk to them about it, okay? All right, so we're going to go on. This is another big one. Boundaries. Boundary violations. A dysfunctional relationship can include violations of boundaries, feelings of no rights in the relationship. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like you didn't even have a right to feel anything? Because every time you felt something, you had to question your own self because your partner told you were crazy. Your partner told you, oh, you tripping for feeling like that. Oh, you stupid for feeling like that. And you started to question your own self and you feel like there are no boundaries. You feel like there's no way for you to communicate. You feel like there's no way for you to actually vent out and voice out how you feel. That is a boundary violation. Have you ever had a partner who does not know how to maintain healthy boundaries between their friends? So they talking to their friends all kinds of night. They on the phone and texting all the time and they doing things that would be deemed inappropriate in a relationship. That is a sign, and that can easily be equated to having a dysfunctional relationship. You have to pay attention to the signs. And the reason why we're talking about it tonight is because we have to learn. We have to learn what it means to, one, be in a dysfunctional relationship, and two, how to handle getting out. And we're going to talk about that a little later. Okay. I want to go to Teresina's comment. Bad to bring family and friends. If you want to decide to stay, you're trying to move, or if you're trying to move on, but the family and friends are still, absolutely. You're trying to move on, but you already got your family involved. So now they're already like, no, you need to leave that person there. You know, they trifling and you'd have told them your side of the story. But guess what? There's always two sides to a story. So you didn't told your family your side of the story. And of course, because they're family, they're going to support you in most cases. And you're listening to your family say, leave. And that's what's clouding your hearing. And you never talk to your partner about it. So it's very important that you recognize the damage that can be done by emotionally stepping out and having conversations with other people. Okay? Eve says the grass always seems greener on the other side where someone else is maintaining it. Absolutely. The grass is always greener on the other side, but you're absolutely right. Someone else has to maintain it. And if you're not sure, or if you know that the person that you're going to vent out to is someone that you are attracted to, then you should not be having a conversation about your current relationship. Okay? Okay. So moving on, we're talking about boundary violations. Now we're going into win or lose arguments. This is another way that you can determine whether you're in a dysfunctional relationship. In an argument, there are arguments that are going to happen in healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. But in an argument, does one person always have to be right? See, I told you so. You know that person, I told you so. I told you you was wrong. You was wrong. And they constantly make a person feel lower because of a discrepancy within an argument. There is no validation. I need y'all to hear this. When there is a right or wrong or win or lose argument, there is no validation. Have you ever talked to your partner and said, you know what? I feel very uncomfortable with you being friends with X, Y, and Z. And that person says, well, you know what? That's your problem. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That is your issue. And all of a sudden you internalize that as you the one that has the problem. That can be a quick sign of a dysfunctional relationship, okay? I need you to hear that. One is made to feel not heard. One feels like, hey, auntie. One feels like, you know what? My partner doesn't hear me. They don't even recognize that I'm even speaking. I'm talking right now, and it's almost like it's going in one ear and out the other. That can be a sign of a dysfunctional relationship, okay? So for the folks out here who wants to share this video, please share this video, because like I said, and I keep saying, people are in dysfunctional relationships all the time and don't even realize it. Dysfunctional relationships happen to all of us at some way, shape, or form. Healthy relationships can be dysfunctional at certain moments, but it's recognizing the pattern. If this is a pattern, if everything that we're talking about, it becomes a pattern, then there's a sign of an unhealthy relationship, okay? Please share this live video, absolutely. All right, so we just talked about winner or loser arguments, okay? When there's someone who always has to be right in a relationship. I told you, I know I'm right, you wrong, and you know you're just nitpicking. That is a sign of a dysfunctional relationship, as if there's a pattern with that, okay? All right, so how does a dysfunctional relationship look? Here's another point. There's lying. Most of the time, someone is lying about things that could cause, well, you know what? I would rather not tell them the truth because it would keep them happy and it make them feel safe. That is a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. When you would rather lie about something and cover it up than to tell the truth, that is breeding grounds for dysfunction. Because when that person finally finds out the truth, they're going to feel betrayed because they're going to wish that you had told them first. And we have to be careful and cautious about why it is that we are holding on to things. Are you holding on to things because you don't feel like it's relevant? Or are you holding on to things and withholding and lying to your partner because you know that it will break their heart? And if you feel like it's going to break their heart, would you rather allow them to hear it from someone else or from your own mouth? And that's something that we have to mature in. And when it comes to healthy relationships, because there should be honesty in healthy relationships, being able to talk to your partner and say, you know what, this is a problem. And I want to share this with you. And I know this might hurt your feelings, but I love you so much that I want to share this with you because I want us to be better. And when you start to lie and when you start to become deceptive, when you start to be conniving, that is a sign of a dysfunction. Okay? And you're absolutely right, Lolita. It does not have to be a partner. We're going to get to that in a minute. It does not have to be a partner. It can be with family, friends. And we talked about that a little bit. But it can be. And right now we're dealing with relationships because there are a lot of people in dysfunctional relationships, intimate relationships. And we're talking about that at this moment. Why? Because that is breeding grounds for abuse. Just like family relationships are breeding grounds for abuse. But I want to definitely make people know, and one of the people who asked the question, who even got this conversation on the airwave, is how can I be free from dysfunctional relationships? How can I be free from people that I love or the pattern of abuse that I've experienced from people that I just keep falling in love with? And it's very important that we hit and miss all of these areas, okay? We hit all of these areas, okay? So definitely Auntie and Lolita is definitely in families. It can be work relationships. It can be friendships. And every type of relationship that we have, whether that's intimate or not, dysfunction can be. Okay? Absolutely, Eve. You said something right there. When you have taken that person's choice away, when one person's choices become limited and another person's choices become more, meaning one person has power over another person, then that is breeding ground for dysfunction, which can lead to abusive relationships. Okay, so another way, this is a good one. Oh my God, I love this one so much. That breezes everything. But this is what I love so much. Self-sabotage. Have you ever told yourself in a relationship, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of this relationship. I don't deserve this relationship. I don't deserve the love that they have for me. I don't deserve this and I don't deserve that. And so you begin to self-sabotage the relationship. In other words, you begin to push your partner away. You begin to make poor choices. Well, you know what? I don't deserve her. So let me just pick up something on the side so I can deal with this and I can have this conversation with people. And I know that she loves me and all that stuff. Or I know that he loves me or they love me. But this is where I am. And you start to do things and make poor decisions in the relationship. That is called self-sabotage. You are self-sabotaging yourself. You begin to blame yourself so much about the relationship that you begin to make decisions that will almost put you out of the relationship without being put out of the relationship. In other words, you're doing things that will almost cause the relationship to end because you don't know how to end it because your feelings of worthlessness. I hope that makes sense. That's called self-sabotage. And so many of us self-sabotage our relationships. I've been there where I've self-sabotaged because it was my low self-esteem that kept me from receiving the love of my partner. So I began to do things that would channel or challenge the relationship to even stay open, to even stay relevant. So I started to do things that would cause the relationship to end because I felt like I wasn't worthy. But that was things that we have to deal with in our own selves. And we often sabotage. Oh, I don't deserve your love. You do. But until you realize that you do deserve it, then maybe you don't. Because self-worth starts from within. Our self-worth doesn't start from other people. It starts from within. And we talked about this the other day when we talked about attachments, that oftentimes we will look to our partners to give us something that we're not even giving ourselves. And we find ourselves at a deficit. And so we push our partners away and we do things to self-sabotage the relationship so that we can't have what it is that we really want. That really happens, y'all. Teresina says, is that the same thing as being intimidated by your partner? Yeah, it can be. If you feel like you're intimidated or jealous or there's some type of competition going on or you feel some type of way concerning your partner, you begin to do certain things to sabotage the relationship. And most of the time, we call it self-sabotage when you're inflicting harm on yourself. When you're doing things and making poor choices that will cause yourself to be at harm and will also cause the relationship to be compromised. That becomes self-sabotage. When you sabotage a relationship, you're blatantly doing things to end it. And so it can be induced, I should say, by intimidation. So sabotage can come from, jealousy, competition, all of these things in a relationship. And people feel like, well, I have no other choice. This is what I can do. And they begin to sabotage because of their feelings of worthlessness and emptiness. That can be grounds for a dysfunctional relationship, okay? Lolita says, at one time I attracted the same type of people because I am not mean or aggressive. And I just allow immature behavior instead of dealing with negativity. So at one time you're saying that you attracted the same type of people, dysfunctional relationships. And because of who you are, it almost was like they had power over you, or they may have taken advantage in some form of way. Instead of dealing with the negativity, I'm assuming that you mean you allowed some of the behavior to happen, and that makes a lot of sense. So thank you, Lolita, for sharing. If I did not get that right, you definitely can bring it back to my awareness. But I appreciate you for sharing. Another way that a relationship can be dysfunctional is through drama. Have you ever been in a relationship where it just seems like it don't matter what happened, there's always some type of drama? Somebody got something to say about this. Somebody got something to say about that. It's always some type of issue, and your partner consistently dwells on the small things. Well, you said you was going to wash the dishes this morning, and you didn't wash the dishes. It's always some type of drama. It's always some pomp and circumstance that's going on that's saying, wait a minute. This person constantly has an issue with something. That can be a form of dysfunctional relationship. Why? Because the person that the person who feels like that is constantly being blamed begin to lose hope. They begin to feel like, man, you know what? Ain't nothing I can do right. So let me just back all the way up. And that is a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. Picking arguments over small things. Oh man, you supposed to turn the porch light on at night. That is small, right? That is very small. But to that person, it becomes so big. And it's a big argument that comes out of something so small and something so minute. That can be the sign of dysfunction. Okay? Here's another one. No willingness to compromise. Have you ever been with somebody that says, it is my way or no way? You want it your way, then you go to Burger King. That's what they say, right? They want to be nasty and funny and want to do these things in such a sabotaging way. It's an unwillingness to compromise. I don't have to compromise to you. I understand that you don't like me talking to my friends, but that's your problem, not mine. There's no willingness to listen. There's no willingness to validate. There's no willingness to compromise and say, you know what? I want to make you feel just as comfortable as I am in the relationship. So let me help you with this. It's none of that. It's more of it is my way. This is what I want to do. And if you don't like it, then you just have to suck it up. That can be a sign of a dysfunction. Here's another one. Problems in the relationship are left unresolved. Have you ever argued or had an issue with something or somebody in the relationship, and all of a sudden, y'all, I'm sweating. And all of a sudden, y'all get over it, and your partner consistently brings it up. Oh, well, if you hadn't done this last week, well, I thought we was over that. Well, no, it never got resolved. So that can be a sign of dysfunction. It never got resolved. It never got dealt with. Because the person's like, well, I'm too mad to deal with it. So they'd rather go to bed mad. They'd rather go to bed mad for weeks before they ever deal with something. That can be a grounds for dysfunction. So what that does is leave the other person feeling like, man, I can't even talk to my partner. So they feel like they're having to hold on to the stuff and they can't heal from whatever happened that went wrong. And now this relationship is built on an unresolved issue. That is a sign of dysfunction. And here's one of the last ways that a relationship can show up as dysfunctional. And that says sometimes the other person gets mad when I don't entertain the drama. I just stay calm. Absolutely. Eve says, my granny used to call that face washing. That's an old school term. Worst thing to do, go to bed angry. Yeah, because you sleeping on that thing. You sleeping on it. So it's festering on the inside. We talked about this, and we keep talking about dealing with the things from the root. When you allow yourself to go to bed angry, when you allow yourself to go to bed and hold on to all that junk, you're allowing that thing to fester. You're not able to heal from that. And when you're not able to heal from it, it becomes unresolved. When it becomes unresolved, it's always going to be a problem. As long as you're not dealing with it, it's going to be a problem. I need y'all to hear that. As long as you're not dealing with what it is that you're going through, will constantly be a problem in your life. Absolutely, Eve. Small things turn into big things when you don't resolve the issue. Absolutely. Y'all, sometimes we think that if we just ignore what the problem is and we just ignore it and just keep moving, then we're going to be better. But sometimes when we ignore the problem, and most times rather, when we ignore the problem, we just prolong it. It just festers longer. It gets bigger longer. It blows up. It blows up in the end worse than what it could have been if you had just dealt with it in the first place. Here's one that's really, oh my God, I want to deal with this for a second. Here's one that's really big. When you're in a dysfunctional relationship, you find yourself feeling guilty. Meaning have you ever apologized for something you know you didn't do because you knew it was going to calm your partner down? Oh, well, I'm so sorry that you feel like this. And you start apologizing for the partner. Instead of saying, you know what? We need to talk about this in a different way and we're going to have to agree to disagree. You begin to apologize to resolve the issue and it really doesn't. And let me tell you something about apologizing for things that you're not responsible for. When you apologize for your partner's foolishness, then you're taking the responsibility from them and they will never own up to their mistakes. And that is breeding ground for a pattern of lies and all of this other stuff to happen, right? Lies and games and foolishness to continue to happen because you're constantly apologizing and you're taking the responsibility off of them. So they don't even acknowledge they did anything wrong. If they don't not acknowledge they did anything wrong, how would they ever be able to fix the problem? And that's so very important in relationships. We often, and most people in dysfunctional relationships will begin to apologize for things that it's not even their fault. I'm apologizing to you about something I didn't even do. And all of a sudden your partner begins to just put the responsibility on you. See, you're the one to apologize because you were wrong. And all of a sudden you find yourself in this web, in this pattern of this person constantly calling you the blame for something that they're not taking the responsibility for. And if you're not careful, you'll begin to feel and assume the responsibility and say, you know what, it is my fault. For real. And that leads to even greater grounds for dysfunction and abuse. Absolutely. It's manipulation at its finest. Absolutely. So we talked about a little bit. For those who are just joining and you want to share the video, please do. We talked about what is dysfunctional relationship. And if you're just joining in, you can definitely catch the beginning as we get off. You can replay it back. But we defined what dysfunctional relationships are. Then we talked about what does a dysfunctional relationship look like? How do they show up in our lives? How can we determine what is a dysfunctional relationship? We just talked about that. Now we're moving into why people stay in dysfunctional relationships. And we're going to stay right here for a second. We're going to stay right here. I'm going to tell you why we're going to stay right here. Because there's so many people who choose to stay in dysfunctional relationships. And there's so many people who are made to feel shame or guilty for staying in these dysfunctional relationships when sometimes it's the only point of survival. And we're going to talk about that for a little bit, okay? So what are some reasons why people stay in relationships? The first thing is children. Are there children involved? If there are children involved in a relationship, it is really hard, especially a dysfunctional relationship. It is hard to leave that relationship with children who look up to both parents, or children who have adopted a parent that says, okay, this is the person who is taking the role as being my parent. It is hard to leave those relationships because now you have to explain, especially if your children are in an age where they can understand. You have to explain to them what is going on in order to move forward out of that relationship. So a lot of people stay. Some of us need to stop judging people for staying in dysfunctional relationships. Yes, BCP, Break and Change Project, we believe in educating people, teaching people so that they can be healed, happy, and whole. But we also believe in giving people the power of choice. So if you choose to stay in a relationship, then we have to do our due diligence and not judge people and add that pressure to their lives. Yes, sometimes it can be real bad. Sometimes it can get real ugly. But we have to be careful of how we talk to people in relationships because we don't know the true reasons why some people stay. But we're going to talk about it tonight because I want to give you both perspectives. I'm going to give you the perspective of people who need to leave, and I want to get or want to leave, and I want to give you the perspective of people who want to stay. I want to give you a bigger picture. Why? So you can understand from both angles why people do what they do in dysfunctional relationships. Okay? So another reason, in addition to children, why people stay is finances. Usually, in many cases, when there's a dysfunctional or abusive relationship, there's someone who has more control of the finances. So a person may feel like they don't have the means to leave. Well, I can't afford to get an apartment. I can't afford to leave. I can't afford to do these things. So I have to stay because I don't know any way else out. And that may not be accurate, but that may be their truth. Okay? I do need one of them church fans. I'm burning up, y'all. And if I turn my AC on, it's going to be loud. So I'm gonna suck it up for about 20 more minutes, all right? Anyways, time. Oh, my God, this is good. Eve, I think you said this the other day. Time and emotional investment. How many of us have ever said, well, you know what? It's been 5 years, and I can't start over. I can't. No. I'm not going to start over. It's been 5 years. We done put in blood, sweat, and tears. I'm staying in this relationship, and we would refuse to leave a relationship because we've invested time, and we've invested our energy. We've invested our tears. We've invested our sleepless nights. We've invested so much in the relationship that we are afraid to leave it. I've been that person. It's been 2 years, and I'm just not going to do it. Absolutely. We do it often. And we find ourselves in a spiral going down. And we're going to talk again at the end on how you could be empowered and finally leave if that's something that you want to do. Okay? So, moving forward, what are other reasons why people stay? Public opinion. Have you ever said, I ain't leaving this relationship? Now, this is the 5th relationship this year. One of them got to work. And it's going to be this one today. And you'll begin to hold on to things. Why? Because you feel like it's better for people. You feel like it's better for people to not think anything negative, and you be unhappy. I'm gonna hold on to this relationship because this is all I have, and mama gonna be like, you can't have no man, and you ain't have no woman. Mama says that all the time because you're afraid of what other people are gonna think, so you decide to stay in your relationship. Public opinion has a lot. Society has a lot on relationships. When you get married, you can't leave nobody. That's what society says. And you would stay in relationships because you feel shame behind leaving someone who is dysfunctional. And the reason why we're bringing this to light, because I want to wake up some people who may feel like this right now, to let you know there are options. You do not have to stay somewhere you don't want to be. There are options. There are shelter options. There are housing options. There are government assistance options. There's so many options, especially when people are in relationships and they feel like they can't afford to get out. There are so many options. And it is so important that you recognize what your rights are and you recognize what you can do in a relationship and moving out of a relationship. Because as you understand that you have options, it'll empower you to make a different decision. But oftentimes we will stay in dysfunctional relationships because we feel disempowered. We feel like we don't have another way to do anything. We feel like we have to stay here. And it becomes horribly dysfunctional. What is another reason why people stay? People stay because of love. I really love my partner. And I'm going to tell you something right now. It is so often and it's real. And I'm going to validate your experience right now. You can love people who hurt you. Some of us love our family members every day. And they hurt our feelings just by waking up in the morning. Some of us love people who talk the worst about us. And it's important that you recognize that, because we can love people who hurt us. That doesn't mean that we have to continue to allow them to hurt us, though. I need you to hear that. You can love someone who hurts you, but you do not have to continue to allow that person to hurt you just because you love them. Love doesn't have to be the end all be all. When you are unhappy and you feel yourself unhappy, you feel yourself being shifted, then you can give yourself permission to leave. And we're going to talk about that. But sometimes we would base our relationship on love and say, you know what, because I love them, I must stay. No, but because I love me, I have to leave. Absolutely, Terracine. I was thinking the same thing. What's love got to do with it? And one of the last ones, okay? And I know that so many people can resonate with this. One of the last reasons why people stay is because they have hope. Have you ever said, you know what, if I stick around a little longer, who I fell in love with is going to come back? And we would tell ourselves that lie. We would tell ourselves that lie every day. This person is going to change. And I know they're going to change. They're going to change because they love me so much. And they told me they loved me last week. And I believe that they're going to love me. And they're going to help me through everything I feel. And we tell ourselves this lie. And we keep them close to us, believing in hope, saying that, yes, they're going to change. And in all reality, they sometimes don't. Most of the time, they don't. Most of the time, when they start to show up as who they are, it's hard to believe it because you fell in love with someone totally different. And so beginning to tell yourself, you know what? I need to face the reality that this is who they are. That can be a hard thing to do. But we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so we just talked about why people stay. We stay believing, yes, I'm 80% sure they're going to change. And then it turns into 70. And then it turns into 50. And then it turns into 40. And then it gets down to 2%. And we'll hold on to that 2% of hope that they're going to change. And we will begin to hurt ourselves in that process. Hey, Bente. All right, so we're going to move it to the good part. And the reason why we started this video. How can you now break free from dysfunctional relationships? So we talked about what a dysfunctional relationship is. We talked about how it shows up in our lives. We also talked about why people stay. Now we're going to empower you to leave. There may be someone who's dealing with dysfunctional relationship. You may not be watching it live, but you may be watching a little later. I want to talk to you right now and let you know that you have options. And so there's some things that you can do in order to leave a dysfunctional relationship. Okay, we're going to start right now. The first way that you can start the process of leaving a dysfunctional relationship is recognizing the signs. We just determined what the signs were. And we talked about that. How does the signs show up in our lives? And as you look at that, you can see, oh yeah, this is a dysfunctional relationship. You recognize it. That's the key. Because oftentimes when you're in a dysfunctional relationship, your partner will make you feel like you're crazy. Your partner will make you feel like you're the one that's silly for believing that it's dysfunctional, for believing that you're unhappy. No, you're not really unhappy. It's just that you're insecure. No, you're really not. You really don't. It's not really that we have a bad relationship. It's the fact that you don't trust me. And they will begin to make you feel like you don't have feelings about what you know you feel. You are the expert of your own life. You know what it is that you feel. When you start to feel discomfort, when you start to feel things shift, when you start to feel yourself out of control in a relationship and you start to feel yourself disempowered, that is the sign of a dysfunction. And don't invalidate your own feelings. Oftentimes we would invalidate our own feelings and trust our partner's good intentions for us. And we would lead ourselves down a path that takes us to a place where we can't get out of, or we feel like we can't get out of. Another way that you can break free from dysfunctional relationships is you have to begin to accept the truth of what you're feeling. Accept the truth of what you're feeling and acknowledge yourself and validate yourself. Eve says, and I think you're right on point with what I'm saying, sometimes facing reality can be accepting that someone who treated us well but felt the need to leave. That can be even harder because you know this is different than a bad breakup due to mistreatment. Okay, so sometimes facing reality can be accepting that someone who treated us well but felt the need. So in other words, it could be the reality of facing the reality that someone who once treated us well is no longer treating us well, and we have to make a decision. It is a harsh reality sometimes to think that the person that said they love you is the one that's causing you harm. Okay? And manipulation is real. Manipulation is real. And the person will cause you to feel like you're wrong for feeling the way you do. No, you're right. I'm telling you right now. I'm speaking to you right now. If you feel like you're in a relationship and it just doesn't feel right, you need to trust your feeling, because your feelings don't lie. You are the expert of your own lives. Stop relying on other people to tell you if your relationship is healthy or not. Trust your instincts. Trust your inner being. Trust who you are. Trust what you know you stand on. Trust that. And validate yourself. You have to find ways to increase your own self-love. Oftentimes when we settle and when we feel like, things are going really bad, and we feel like the relationship is dysfunctional, we feel like the relationship is just not feeling good, it doesn't feel happy, you don't feel excited about it anymore, and you feel like there's something that's off, you have to find ways to increase your self-love. Everything that we're talking about tonight is something that you have to do. You have to make a conscious decision outside of your relationship to say, you know what, I want to do something different. I want to do something different. I have to validate myself, because I know that what I feel is real. And oftentimes we would be so clouded by what our partners say, or by what our family say, or what other people who are manipulating and trying to control us in dysfunctional relationships, that we would begin to question our own intellect. We would begin to call ourselves stupid because other people are calling us stupid. But I'm telling you right now, you have the power to trust your own instinct. Your instinct is real. If it starts flaring up, then there's something that's wrong. Trust that. You have to stop judging your feelings. You have to stop judging your thoughts. Stop judging what it is that you want. If what you're seeing and what the reality is in your relationship is not lining up to what it is that you want, you have a right to make a decision to say, I want to leave this. I don't want to be here. You have to begin to make choices and take actions that will reflect your best self. Oftentimes in dysfunctional relationships, it will lead you to feel your worst, but you have to shake yourself back to a place of feeling your best and make actions and decisions. That means sometimes you got to pump yourself up and play some Beyonce. What's that song? I love it. I like to sing it at karaoke. Best thing I never had. You got to start playing some empowerment music and say, you know what? Let me shake myself out of this dark place and tell myself that I'm worth more and get out of this relationship, because this is something that is not good for me. If it's tearing you down, if it's causing you to feel less than, if it's causing you to feel like you can't make it or you're ashamed and you start to feel all of these negative feelings, then you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision. You have to make a decision and take an action that will reflect your best self. What will make me feel good about myself again? What can I do to make myself feel happy again? That is the decision that will determine that. This is a good one. You have to empower yourself. You got to begin to affirm yourself. So oftentimes we rely on so many other people, family, friends, cousins, auntie and them, all these other folks. We will rely on everyone else to dictate who we are, and we would not hear ourselves. Y'all, this is a pattern. I've been talking about this for about 2-3 weeks now. This is real. So many things happen in our lives because we knock ourselves. We doubt ourselves. We would rely on, well, let me ask my mama, because my mama, she knows me well. No, you know you well. Listen to your own self and begin to affirm, validate, and stop judging your emotions. Begin to empower yourself. No, girl, you are too beautiful. No, man, I'm too handsome. I'm too great to be dealing with this. I'm too great to be in this dark place. I'm too great to be having somebody tell me how much I'm dumb and how stupid I am. You have to empower yourself and tell yourself what it is that you deserve. Okay? And you have to begin to practice self-love and self-care. What are you doing for yourself? Yes, Beyonce will have you poke. Yes, to the left, to the left. She gonna have you pack your people's bag. I bet it sucks to be you right now. Okay, that's what she said. Okay, I love Beyonce. And a lot of those songs are empowering, and they put you in a place of feeling like you are more than. And I know you want me to say, sing some gospel songs, but sometimes I don't do it for people. Recognizing that when I'm feeling my lowest, sometimes I listen to some empowerment music from secular artists and say, you know what, that's right. What's love got to do? You better sing it, Tina Turner. And I'm empowering myself and telling myself that I deserve more. You have to find what works for you. The Bible may work for you. The gospel songs may work for you. The rock and roll songs may work for you. You have to find what works for you and bring you into a place of empowerment. We have to learn how to empower ourselves, because when we empower ourselves, we're able to make decisions that reflect our best self. And some of the reasons why we settle and make decisions that reflect our worst selves is because we feel low about ourselves, because we're not empowering ourselves. We're not depositing anything into ourselves. Practice self-care. What are you doing for yourself? What are you doing to make yourself feel good? What are you doing to make yourself feel validated? What are you doing to make yourself feel amazing? What are you doing to make yourself feel worthy? What are you doing? Not what your partner is doing, not what your family is doing, not what your cousins are doing, but what are you doing to empower yourself? And last but not least, turn to others. Turn to others for support. And I'm not talking about turn to Betty and them who ain't never had no good relationship. I'm talking about turn to someone who can help you. Turn to a counselor. Turn to a friend that can be trusted. Turn to a neutral party. Turn to someone that's healthy. Turn to someone who can help you navigate yourself and navigate your systems better. And I'm not saying let them tell you what to do, but turn to someone that will validate you. Let me tell you something. The reason why most of y'all come on this page. Yeah, I'm about to get on your own street. The reason why some of y'all come on this page is because you feel validated, you feel heard, you feel valued. Why? Because I try to hear all of what you all are saying. And we try to reflect and have conversations about what you're saying. People don't want to be in environments where they don't feel validated and heard. I don't want to be in an environment where I feel like I'm ignored, where I feel like don't nobody hear me, where I feel like where I'm not able to reflect how I feel and it be turned back to me and empowering me. No one wants to be in that environment. And so a lot of you all come on every week because you feel heard, you feel validated. For those who are just watching and not saying anything, if you were to say something, we will validate and hear you too. Why? Because what you say matters. And it's so very important that you recognize that what you say matters. What you say has a purpose. What you say has a point. And we reach to find that. We'll help you find that and discover that. Why? Because when you can discover your own worth, when you can discover your own validation, when you can discover those things that you know that you feel, and you can hear somebody say, yeah, I understand why you feel like that. It can be validated, and it can help you to shift yourself into a place where you're empowered to make a better decision. But oftentimes we sit under the company of people who consistently tell us how terrible we are, how ugly we are, and how all of these things. Well, you better stick with that person because you know you ain't had nobody in 5 years. Okay, well, be single for 10 more years. But guess what? You have to make a decision that's going to help you. You have to position yourself around people who are going to empower you, who are going to grow you, strengthen you, encourage you to be able to make your own decision. Not make the decision for you, but make your own decision. I love you all, and I love to come on here. Why? Because I want to hear what you have to say. Dre, I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. We want you to feel validated. We want you to feel heard. How would you feel if you went and talked to somebody, you went to an interview, and they ask you questions, and you just selling yourself, and they like, you're going to feel like, well, why am I here? If I'm answering your questions that you ask me, but you're not validating what I'm saying. You're not reflecting back what I'm saying. You're not asking me more questions. You're just ignoring me like it's going through one end out the other. No one wants to be in that environment. And just like no one wants to be in that environment on a day-to-day, nobody wants to be in that environment in a relationship. So you have to position yourself in places where you can be validated, where you can be heard, where you can be understood. Why? In a healthy way. So that you can make a healthy decision. Okay? So that's all I got for y'all tonight. All right? So we just teaching tonight on what dysfunctional relationship is. For those who have joined, and for those who are going to watch later, I really appreciate you. I want you all to know that it's so important that we recognize what dysfunctional relationships are so that we can make better decisions. Absolutely, Rhonda. In order to change behaviors, we have to change our way of thinking. We have to change our way of thinking. Listen, nothing is going to go right in your life until you make the decision that it's going to go right. No one is going to influence your decision but you. No one has the power to influence your decision but you. Yes, share this video for those who are just watching. It's so important that you recognize that you have the power to shift what is happening in your relationship. And that means sometimes you have to be away from that relationship. You got to leave that relationship. It's not going to be good for you. Dysfunctional relationships are everywhere. They don't mean just because they're everywhere, just because they're a norm, does not mean that you have to stay in it. And I want to empower you all tonight to be free from dysfunctional relationships, to be free from people, places, and things that don't mean you any good, to be free from that. Why? Because it's so very important that you recognize that your worth is more important. Your worth is you have greater worth than to sit under somebody who continually treats you like crap. You deserve so much more. And I want to let you all know that. I want to just lovingly say that to you all. It is 8:54. I want to give y'all some moments to just have some final thoughts on what it is that you all feel. If you have final thoughts, definitely post your final thoughts, and we're going to check out, and we're going to have a good night, all right? So what are y'all feeling out there? We got about 6 more minutes. Tasha said, powerful statement. Sometimes I be in the flow. I don't even know what I said. I'm going to have to watch the video again and hear what was said. What are y'all feeling as we are about to check out? Teresina says, sometimes leaving is the answer. Tasha said, I put on my shouting shoes for this live. I wasn't trying to, make you all shout. And that's good. If it is shouting, if it's shouting for you, shout your way out that relationship. Go ahead. Shout your way out that relationship. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Shout yourself to freedom. Shout yourself to peace. Shout yourself to joy. Shout yourself to self-love. Shout yourself there. Amen. Food for thought. Thank you so much, Annette, for your feedback. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. Dre says I'm gonna have to set a reminder. Y'all, I put the video out late. Actually, Teresina inboxed me today and was like, I look forward to seeing you live tonight. And I realized I didn't post nothing about live. I was like, oh, I better go ahead and get something together. But definitely I appreciate the reminder, and I know that all 9 of y'all who are sharing the video, I appreciate you. For those who watch, I appreciate you. Is there any more final thoughts? Because I'm about to end the video. So definitely, if you have any final thoughts, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and end, okay? All right? Everybody deserves the kind of love that helps them grow. Absolutely, Dre. They do. They do. Friends, family, or foe. It's not a person who's... if it's not a person adding to your cup, let it go. Absolutely. If they're not adding healthy. Because there's some people who add... There's some people who don't add healthy tea or water to your cup. If they're not adding healthy water or tea to your cup, if they adding, are you gonna drink brown water? If my water was brown, I wouldn't drink it right now. If they're not adding healthy, clean stuff to your life, some of them gotta go. Absolutely, y'all. It's time for me to turn on my AC, but I'll sit in the hot. I'll sweat all night if it's gonna help some people get empowered. I will sweat my fresh hair out. Y'all see my hair freshly done? It's freshly done. I will sweat it out to see some people get free. Why? Because your freedom is more important. And I come on this live all week, every week. I come on this live to help you all get empowered, to know that you don't have to stay where you are. That there's greater out there for you. Okay? I want to appreciate you all. I want to let you all know I love you. Always. I hope that you all, thank you, Jay. Okay. It looked nice. You can't see it because my hairline starts far back, but don't judge me. It's all right. I got hair. All right. I got hair. Thank you so much, Teresina. Thank you, Dre. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, definitely. I pray that you all have a beautiful, 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 blessed night. And I want you all to remember to share this video because you may be saving someone from dysfunction. Hope that you all have a blessed night. And just remember that if nobody else out there loves you, I do.